live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Great to have you with us here for 2 News Live. I'm Brian Schnee. We've reached the Friday mark. It is May the 3rd. Going in depth tonight on the proposal from the Smith Entertainment Group to reshape parts of downtown Salt Lake City in an effort to make the Delta Center suitable for the National Hockey League, because they are here. As we go in depth tonight, you can always get in touch with us during the show. You can find us on the socials if you'd like, X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok even, or you can just weigh in by commenting on the live stream there on YouTube, Facebook Live, or send us an email. Get old-fashioned. Let's go in depth tonight. We're learning some new details today, rather yesterday when I published the article a little bit, into how getting a hockey team in Salt Lake could reshape parts of downtown. The details are from a pages-long proposal that I skimmed last night from the Smith Entertainment Group. Ariel Harrison went through that proposal, got us some clarification on this. Ariel, what could the area around the Delta Center look like potentially in the future?
Well, just in combing through that 7-page document you found for us, Brian, one idea is a multi-use arena to, quote, potentially allow an NHL team to be co-located with the Utah Jazz in the Delta Center that's here in downtown. And they say, according to those documents we combed through, that project would be happening over several off seasons. And the reason that's significant is because, for instance, the Delta Center was widely first and initially thought as just a temporary landing spot for this new NHL team. But this plan, it calls for a massive renovation, you referenced, Brian, keeping the Jazz and hockey here at the same spot downtown. Additionally, that proposal also outlines details on a project area near the Delta Center that would spell out a footprint of no more than 100 acres, according to those documents, including blocks to the east from the Delta Center. And in just looking at that, blocks to the east, for instance, include the Salt Palace Convention. It's a very popular spot here in downtown, including Abravanel Hall. So it gives us a scope, but not necessarily specific answers, Brian. We still have so many questions.
Ariel, yeah, you're right. That block to the east, the convention center, that is a Salt Lake County property, so they would have to work through the lease agreements there. They also, in that document, wanted to reshape their current lease for the Delta Center. So what other questions did you try to get answers to today? Because it's a lot of language, but not necessarily a blueprint, if you will. There's no renderings. Ryan Smith also mentions a heliport in that document.
Yeah, they mentioned getting, I think, would it be use permits for a heliport, looking at permits for the existing stadium, I think. Height restrictions also in this area. For instance, if we wanted to fly a drone, we wouldn't be able to do that here from my understanding. We wanted to try and do that today, but you need special permission, and there are restrictions in this area. But heliport was one that they mentioned specifically in that application submitted to Salt Lake. And Brian, you'll have to answer this. This was released quite a few weeks ago. Was it released in early April from my understanding, but we just are getting our hands on it now?
Ariel, you're right, because this was back April 4th, I believe it's dated, and it's written to Mayor Aaron Mendenhall. They discussed it briefly at a council meeting of sorts, and when we requested it, it was denied. I appealed it, citing the public interest and that they could redact things if they'd like. The Smith Entertainment Group waived the business confidentiality and shared it with us. So ultimately, it was that collaboration that allowed us to see this application. That's why we have it now. Again, it gives us a little bit more insight, but just curious, what other questions were you hoping to get some answers on from this today? Because I too have some. I think a lot of people do.
Well, we reached out to the mayor's office, Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall, and asked for her thoughts on those comments regarding the blocks east of the Delta Center, specifically the Salt Palace Convention. They said that they're working with the county, looking at options. Well, actually, that was the county mayor that we heard from. They're considering all options and what's best for the community moving forward, because, again, Salt Palace Convention is owned by the county. Aaron Mendenhall, the city mayor, they told me when I asked about her reaction to that they cannot at this point comment on specific pieces of that proposal, but coming up just next week, there is a scheduled briefing with the Smith Entertainment Group along with the city to have a hearing, so to speak. From my understanding, no decisions will be made at that point. There's a public hearing then scheduled for later in May, I believe. But the earliest a vote could come from the Salt Lake City Council won't be until the beginning of July. So I know I'm saying the earliest. I mean, this, when you're thinking about it, is a really quick timeline. We could potentially have a vote from the City Council saying, yes, this application, the things outlined in it, we agree with. I'm sure there will be debate back and forth. Something we haven't talked about just yet, Brian, is there's that tax, the sales tax, from my understanding, that would go into play here in Salt Lake proper. I asked the Downtown Alliance about that today. I spoke with Dee Brewer from the Downtown Alliance on camera just about this plan, kind of his reaction, the Downtown Alliance's reaction. They, of course, want to see more foot traffic in downtown. They think more pro sports is just going to benefit all of the state. When I asked about the tax, he said that it would, incentivize the development, and while it, I mean, a lot of people, that's an issue they have on the public side of things, but I think those are, I didn't get many answers today other than what I combed through in the document. So there are still so many questions, and I know we'll be at those upcoming meetings to hopefully hear more about this, but this is definitely the first time we're seeing all of these details we've been able to pull out of the 7-page document. Again, something that came out earlier in April that we are now seeing for the first time, all this just a few weeks later.
Ariel, thank you for that. Thank you for unpacking all of that. There's a lot in that 7-page document pertaining to redevelopment, revitalization, the sales tax, the what if, and then, of course, as you mentioned, the next steps here at this point involve not only a presentation from the Smith Entertainment Group, but also public input, which, of course, when you get the public involved to speak their mind, never know what could happen. But you know what you said? A fast timeline. It was extremely fast to get the NHL to Utah, so I'm sure there are some people working behind the scenes to try to get this going. Ariel, thank you. So after the announcement a couple of weeks ago at the Delta Center, we were able to talk with Salt Lake City Mayor Erin Mendenhall and ask a few questions about the plans downtown, specifically the revitalization zone. I asked her about it. Here's what she had to say. When it comes to the revamping of the Delta Center, what do you look forward to the most?
The future of Major League sports of any sort is not a walled off court inside with nothing to do outside, a place where people come to a game and go home and don't do anything else. That's not where sport is going, and that's not what any of us want to see. We want to see the Delta Center, which is an incredible NBA basketball arena, expanded to accommodate the NHL, and that we can activate outdoors here around the arena so that people, even without tickets, could come down, watch the game on a screen, have an experience outside, go to a bar or restaurant, bring their kids down here to play, and the community can come together. And that's an incredible opportunity for downtown that is about so much more than NHL.
Is that part of the revitalization zone application from Smith Entertainment Group?
Yes, it's part of what we're working on to reinvigorate downtown, and NHL can be a key that unlocks right now what is some static nature to our downtown experience.
Sales tax is a critical part of this, right? The legislature approved funding not just for the National Hockey League situation here and everything that surrounds it, but also Major League Baseball and that potential. What should the community know about the dollars being spent on a project such as this?
Right. The dollars from the sales tax increase will be considered by the City Council in the upcoming meetings over the next couple of months. Public's going to have their opportunity to weigh in. Salt Lakers, of course, we want to hear from you, but we want to hear from anyone who has an opinion about it, and they will have their opportunity with our City Council to make that known.
Major League Baseball next?
We sure hope so. Absolutely. Salt Lake City, fastest growing population in the nation, strongest economy in the nation, a doubling downtown population. It's a beautiful place to live, and I think it's a natural fit with Major League sports. So, a lot to unpack there from the conversation with Ariel Harrison, also what you just heard from the mayor there. Just quickly, before we move on to the poll, it's a 0.5% sales tax for 30 years. That's how it's written out in the document. And if you'd like to learn more, I encourage you to read the article that I shared and wrote last night. It's on our website if you'd like to learn more about this and what was in the application. And of course,
The Smith Entertainment Group citing the benefits this will have in terms of tourism, raising property values around this area. There's a number of things that they cited, but we want to hear from you. What would you need in a new entertainment district to visit downtown Salt Lake more often? Most of you are actually saying what the opposite, I think, of what this would do, which is public open space. 11% say we want more concerts. We want T Swift here. 21% saying restaurants, and then 24% saying unique tourist attractions. By the way, you don't have to look too far for some unique tourist attractions. Just type it in. It's all on the internet now. But if you'd like to weigh in, scan the QR code on your screen and join us as we continue to cover the NHL here in Utah, because there is a lot to talk about. We still don't even know the name of the team, and we might not know it for a little while. We will keep you up to speed here on all the developments of the NHL's move to Utah and now their permanent state here. Read all our past stories on our website. Check out our YouTube coverage as well. We have a lot of great stuff up there right now. Great stuff. Sterling Paulson is here. Speaking of great stuff, this is cool. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for hanging out on 2 News Live. We did this once or twice before you.
We did.
Before you gave the goodbye wave.
You know what makes what comes to my mind with all of this going on in downtown is the Olympics too. Mm-hmm. That's in the mix of all the things we're doing in the next 25 years.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because part of when they rolled out the Olympic plan for venues,
right,
the Big Air competition, which is new as of 2018, they are saying it's going to happen in Block 85. And if you say, what the heck is Block 85?
Yeah.
It is the kitty-cornered parking lot to the Delta Center, right across the street from that Salt Palace, right across from the other broadcast center, if you will.
Right.
It's that large parking area. So
right,
what could this do to that? You make a good point.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on in downtown Salt Lake City. But there's also a lot going on in the weather. Check this out. We've got a high pressure over us, and tomorrow you're going to see temperatures way above where they are today. And then we've got a cold front coming in. Let's get to the forecast and show you what we're expecting as we track this low pressure off the coast of, well, it's up in the Gulf of Alaska, headed south. It's going to be moving down along the west coast and eventually going to take a turn right into southern or central California and eventually into Utah. And that's going to happen Saturday night and Sunday. It's going to happen pretty fast. So this whole system, and sometimes as these come down the west coast, they can't decide where to turn. So that's going to be the big if in this whole forecast, is where does this low actually turn and move inland? If it goes farther south, that could be a whole different forecast for us. But right now, it is looking like it's going to go into central part of California and head our direction. So in advance of that, we're going to see some strong winds. There's a high wind warning in effect, 3 p.m. Saturday through noon on Sunday. Winds 30 to 40 miles an hour, gusts over 60. That includes Delta, and I would imagine there'll be some 30 to 40 mile an hour gusts along I-15 in some spots too. So kind of put that in your plans as you're making your travel plans. Here's a look at some of those wind speeds, 20, and these are wind speeds, not wind gusts. So these are steady winds all the way up to the West Desert there. That's why we've got the strongest area right through here. Ely, Nevada, 32 steady winds, 13 in Escalante, 29 in Cedar City, 20 in St. George. So it's going to be windy. Then on Sunday, all of this moves into eastern Utah. Like I said, this is a fairly fast-moving system, so you can see the winds are out of the west now in the western part and still out of the south across on Sunday afternoon across eastern Utah. So the wind moves east. So if you're headed to places like Lake Powell, you're going to want to make sure that you have your life jackets, make sure you realize that there's going to be some strong winds on the lake, and that's a dangerous place to be in some of those windy conditions. So just keep that in mind. High resolution future track. We had this little system move through this morning. That's already moved out. It's moving through Cheyenne right now. We had less than 1/10 of an inch of precipitation with that this morning as it moved through the northern part of Utah. This is Saturday morning. Looks pretty nice. 8 a.m. We're in great shape. You can see we've got clear skies. Then we start to see the high clouds increasing from the west. This is 6 o'clock Saturday night. We're still in pretty good shape, and those south winds will be screaming across west central and southwestern Utah. And here along the Wasatch Front, we'll see 15 to 25, 30 miles an hour. Then the cold front starts to approach. This is 11 o'clock Saturday night. We're still not seeing any real storminess except a few showers in St. George. But then this is 4 a.m. Sunday morning. You can see we've got rain falling Sunday morning along the Wasatch Front. And then we could actually see some showers and thunderstorms through the morning hours. And then the colder air starts to move in and the snow level starts to drop. So that's what we're looking at there. So because that snow level is dropping, we have a winter storm warning in effect through noon Tuesday, starting at 3 o'clock on Sunday. Through noon Tuesday, we've got heavy snow possible in the mountains, winter storm warning, poor driving conditions along with those strong winds, could be some blowing snow. especially above 7,000 feet. 73 tomorrow in Price, 76 in Richfield, 86 in St. George, 79 in Salt Lake. We could hit 80 degrees depending on how slow or fast this cold front moves in from the west. So that's going to be the key factor there. 83 in Moab. Here's a look at the National Parks forecast for tomorrow. 81 at Arches Canyonland, Capitol Reef 68. Bryce Canyon is going to be windy and 65. 83 at Zion National Park, partly cloudy. It'll also be breezy there too, but we're not looking for any rain tomorrow across the state. Here's the forecast for the next 7 days. At 86 and windy. Saturday turns into 68 on Sunday, and then we're down into the 70s Tuesday, Monday through Thursday, and the wind sticks around all the way through Wednesday. So we've got the Youth Ironman tomorrow, and things are going to be a little bit breezy for us, but at least it's going to be warm. Close to 90 next Sunday, a week from Sunday in St. George. For Salt Lake City, we've got those highs tomorrow, 79, windy. Breezy on Sunday, showers, possible thunderstorms, rain and snow, and I say snow because places like Suncrest, the higher benches, could see some snow mixing in. So we've got 50s, low 50s all the way through Wednesday, mostly cloudy. We start to see some sunshine by Thursday. You might want to mow the lawn tomorrow because it looks like the lawns are going to stay wet all the way through the weekend and into early next week. And I've seen some lawns that are pretty tall right now because we've had so much rain and not a lot of chance to mow.
So it's interesting you say that. I was out in Saratoga Springs area the other day working on what is a piece that you'll see eventually regarding kind of the upcoming wildfire season and some technology. But I was out there back where the Knowles fire burned out 4 years ago or so and basically evacuated the entire town. And it is already so dry in certain areas. But it's so different from wherever you go here because the closer you are towards the Wasatch, right? You mentioned the green up. You mentioned, obviously, those lawns that need some attention, by the way. Get to work before the city comes on.
Most of that rain has been on the northern half of the state. So southern Utah is pretty dry, and it's been pretty windy, and it's going to get a little drier.
This is this time of year in a true graphic right here.
That is.
Everything.
Up and down, up and down. In fact, we've had frost as late as
July 4th?
June 6th.
I was close. I was hoping for a monumental day. All right, June 6th. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why you're here. Thanks for being with us tonight, too. Remember to download our 2 News app to know about the changes in your neighborhood. And be sure to download the 2 News weather app, most specifically here. Get those live radar and all the forecasts on your phone. The app is free to download. Before we leave you tonight, it's kind of funny we're talking about AI here because that's the news piece we're working on regarding the wildfire stuff. The Air Force took its leader for a historic ride. Secretary Frank Kendall rode front seat in an experimental F-16 controlled by artificial intelligence. Oh, wow. Not a human pilot there, Stern.
That's crazy.
It's called Vista. The second F-16 with a pilot raced next to it at more than 550 miles per hour in a dogfight, doing twists and loops and all sorts of cool stuff, forcing vulnerable positions, so forcing the AI to get uncomfortable. And the flight lasted about an hour. When Kendall climbed out at the end, he said he'd seen enough to trust the AI with the ability to decide to launch weapons. The Air Force is planning for an entire AI-enabled fleet of more than 1,000 unmanned warfighting capability planes.
I wonder how his stomach felt after all that.
Within the next 5 years. I'd have to imagine. Well, how many G's are we pulling in that thing, you think?
If they push the envelope, then okay, there's something going on.
Have you ever seen Top Gun before?
Yeah.
Or the second one? Thanks for watching 2 News Live. Have a wonderful weekend. And we are back on Monday to do it all over again. I don't think you're here, though.
I won't be here on Monday.
This was a special Friday edition.
Right.
Truly special here.
Fun to be here. Thanks, Bryce. It's always great to be with you.
Have a great weekend, everybody. See you on Monday.